Hi, we're going to make a robot arm by grouping together polygon primitives. First we'll create a polygon cylinder, and then it's orientated the wrong way, so we'll turn it, trim her into 90 degrees. And we'll make another polygon cylinder. This is going to be the elbow of the robot arm. Pretty basic looking thing, but for time constraints and demo purposes, we'll keep it simple. Now, positioning it on the end of the elbow is important. And if we were to leave it like this, we could use the D key to maneuver the pivot point. It of course is centered on this plane, but on this plane it won't be precise. These panels are very good for alignment of pivot points. Back into the perspective view. If I were to rotate this elbow, it would turn like this from the pivot point. I've just duplicated that forearm to make the upper arm. Again, just to speed things up. We'll get her straight and duplicate the elbow to make a shoulder. Now the pivot points don't really matter at this point. The important part will be in the group's pivot point. I'm just going to make a little claw for clarity as to which end of the arm is which. Out of a cylinder. I have to thin it out a little bit. Make it longer because we're going to use the deformer to make a round kind of claw shape. And a bend. Orientating the bend in the correct direction can be done just as a standard polygon can be oriented. Now it's not bending because there's only one subdivision in this cylinder as a default, so we'll have to make some more subdivisions. I'll make 10. And there it is. A nice little claw. Now, selecting all of these, it doesn't matter which order in this case, we'll group them. And now they're all grouped as group 1. And the pivot point, of course, is in a different spot. So we use the D key to get the pivot point centered. And we'll rename it elbow. This is now the elbow group. I have a habit with precision. Now the whole thing turns, but the claw is going crazy. And that's because I didn't include the bend deformer in the group. So we'll just delete that because it doesn't need to change anyways now, being a rigid type of object. And as you saw, it worked fine. Selecting the elbow again. from the attribute editor, we'll shift and select the rest of the arm and group it together. That's the group settings I'm using. Same thing, the pivot is in the center. It needs to be pulled off to the shoulder cylinder. And we'll just get it in there. And there it is in this view. Oh, I got it pretty close. A little bit over. There we are. And now, in the attribute editor, you can see group 1, which when selected highlights the whole robot arm. The elbow is inside the group. We'll rename that shoulder. These are just for names for references when animating. It's a lot easier if you name the groups, especially if it's complex. Now, as you see, the whole arm is moving. The histories have been deleted, so there's no problem with it coming apart. And the elbow can move independently of the arm when its group is selected. And the whole arm is moved on the shoulder pivot. Now you can add animation at this point if you were finished. So we'll just put some animation in. Pressing the S key, S as in Sierra, will insert keyframes in the timeline, if you didn't already know. Now we'll make the elbow do something different in its animation. Now, as you can see, it appears to be moving around on its own. It suddenly has come to life. It looks like it's flipping pizzas. Okay, so there's the arm. Now you can fancy it up and do all kinds of goofy things. We won't waste a lot of time on that. Now we'll create a body. And there's a robot body. He has no head, so he's looking for his head. And now we're going to duplicate the arm. Now when you duplicate something you've created, it should be in its created position, not like this, because it will lead to problems as you go into more complex animations. So always duplicate it in its original stretched out form. And there we are, our headless robot. We'll just animate him again for posterity.